Welcome to the Hump Day edition of Everyday Ethics, folks. I'm your host, Michael Liebowitz, joined once again by the
Amazing.
amazing Persephone. I think we're going to talk about sadness, depression, and how to deal with it, but I'm not entirely positive. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to her and she can tell us. But remember, 3:15 today, we will be doing our criminal justice show, Crime, Corrections, and Culture. And also, please remember that we at 3:15 Eastern Time. And please remember my affinity for super chats and super stickers, and they are very much appreciated. All right, Persephone.
So I was thinking about what Robert said when he said it's really difficult to be optimistic right now, right? Because shit's fucked. That's the technical term. Life's just kind of depressing right now, and like I've said to you before, like I'm tired. I'm tired. Like I'm tired of the news, and I'm tired of hearing about Trump, and I'm tired of the war, and I'm tired of stupid people saying stupid shit. And I'm just tired. And I thought we could talk about that. Yeah, Robert says sadness is a tough topic. It comes up a lot on my shows with Amy, and I always have to tread lightly. Toxic positivity is a thing, and I'm more prone to it than most people. Toxic positivity is dangerous.
Yeah, I do think that there is a risk in pretending things are okay when they aren't, in pretending to be happy when you're not. On the flip side of that, so, and I want to be careful because I don't ever want to minimize what somebody is going through, right? It's like in prison, for instance, like a guy that's doing 6 months in prison, he's going to be sad that he has to spend 6 months in prison. But the guy that's doing 50 years in prison would get upset if he sees the guy doing 6 months. He'll stop crying, you're going home. But at the same time, you got to understand to that guy, that 6 months is a long time. I remember when I was 19 years old, they offered me to do 9 months. And I remember thinking, I will run away. I will flee this state before I'll spend 9 months in prison. 9 months seemed like forever to me. Now, I mean, after spending 25 years, I think 9 months is ridiculous. But to me, when that's all I was dealing with, that was a big deal. So I don't want to minimize what people go through or what people deal with. Now, that said, when I think about my own life, let's just start with me. Um, and I'm not, God, I don't want to, this is not a poor me thing. I just want to give some context, okay? Um, my father and mother were both drug addicts. Father was an alcoholic. He wasn't around when he was. It wasn't very good. I mean, there was a time. Okay, so I'll give a couple examples. These two older kids. I was 9 at the time, or maybe 8. I don't know. I had a fight on the school bus with an older kid, and I beat him up. And now that kid's older brother, who was probably 16 or 17, and another kid, same age, 16 or 17, one of them held me up like this, and the other one had a firecracker and a lighter in my face and were acting like they were going to set this off. I was terrified. I was a little kid. So I went and I told my father because my father had this reputation of being a tough guy, and I knew if my father went and said something, these kids would be terrified. My father told me to let my stepfather handle it. Like he wasn't interested. For 2 years, my father lived within yelling distance and didn't want much to do with me. I saw my father and his wife kick and stomp my mother in the street. And a cop grabbed me when I was crying. He shakes me and tells me to act like a man. I've experienced my mother overdosing multiple times, both parents in and out of prison. Of course, the 25 years in prison. While I was there, my mother committed suicide. My best friend committed suicide. My aunt committed suicide. And I got out. I fell in love. I was with a girl who stole my heart, and then she dies of cancer. That was tough times, right? But I made it through it all, and I'm okay. So the idea that, well, the news is a little annoying and there's people on social media who say stupid shit, it's like, all right, Mike, put this in context, right? Life is pretty good for me right now. I have some wonderful shows that I do here with you, with Mark, my own show where I get to interview wonderful people. I've got a Facebook and Twitter community. Robert Naser, Nicole Hingle are both a part of it. Those are good things. I've got people that I care about that care about me, friends and family. So overall, things are good, right? They're good for me. And I remember being in prison, and I would think to myself, these guys are bitching and moaning about spending time in prison. A lot of them are murderers. Like, the person whose life you took is gone. That person does not get to sit here in prison and play video games and basketball and laugh and joke with his friends. That your family comes and sees you. That person's family does not get to see him. And I read books like Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, who was born into slavery, or Viktor Frankl, who spent time in a concentration camp. And I would think to myself, wow, these guys suffered more than I ever did. And yet they did nothing wrong, whereas I did something wrong to put me in prison. And I guess this is all my roundabout way of saying perspective matters. And perspective helps. For me, things are not that bad. Things are actually very good, as Nicole Hingle says, right? Things are very good. So I can choose to get upset, and look, it gets aggravating, and I'm not pretending to be some kind of a monk. I get annoyed. But in the end, people saying dumb shit on Twitter and having a president who's a doofus, whatever. And it kind of, in a way, and it's hard not to bring politics because that's what you're upset about, but it kind of conveys the idea. Look, Iran is not on the cusp of destroying the United States of America. I'm not worried about that, and I don't need to worry about that. So, I mean, ultimately, things are pretty good. And I'd venture a guess that things are pretty good for you. You get to spend time with me every day during the week, right?
Truly, just the best.
Part of me's being sarcastic and joking, but part of me's serious. I mean, we have fun. We have fun doing the Capitalist Corner. We have fun doing this. We're going to be having fun doing the new show. There's a lot of good in this world. So while I don't want to do the toxic positivity thing where I just ignore the bad, I also don't want to do just plain toxic and ignore all the good.
What do I want to say here? First of all, I'm actually really excited for Crime, Corrections, and Culture.
Me too.
Later today, where we're going to be discussing Chapter 1 of Down the Rabbit Hole. It's kind of difficult because if
Oh, look at this.
Thank you, Robert.
I don't know though if that would be super chat or super chat. It's a bit confusing, Robert, but thank you for the $2.
Super. So it is difficult to sort of articulate what I'm thinking right now because yes, life is great in a lot of ways. Maybe not for everyone, but for me at least. But also there is so much in the world right now that is so frustrating. So frustrating, and it just how do you deal with just like all of the shit that's outside of your control that you still have to deal with on a day, like, because you can't just switch off from the world, right? It would be nice, but you can't just switch off. I mean, I feasibly could, American, so I don't really have to pay attention to the news, I guess.
This is what you've been hearing. This is the barking you've been hearing. Come on.
South Africa is allowed through the Strait of Hormuz because, we're assholes. But I mean, how do you separate out like shit that I can't control that is genuinely not great and focus on your own life and what you can control.
Okay,
Such.
so look, right? Look, I mean, I have a dog here that all this dog wants in the world right now is for me to give her a little attention, right? She was yelping or whelping or whatever outside of the door. I let her in, and all she wants to do is jump up and have me pet her, right? This is one of the good things in my life, right? Right? All right. So that's how is I choose to focus on the good. Now you said, I don't have a choice, or you don't have a choice but to look into this stuff, but really I do. I don't have to do this for, my career, and I don't have to discuss the topics that I choose to discuss. I can discuss other topics. I could just focus on this show and not worry about politics and that sort of thing. Ultimately, there's a part of me that enjoys that, or else I would not do it. It gets frustrating at times. It was frustrating for me when being basically, I don't want to use the word attacked, but harshly criticized because I defended the United States Constitution, which I've done damn near my entire adult life. You know what I mean? So that was tough, and it gets aggravating, but I don't have to let it aggravate me, and neither do you. It's a matter of perspective, and it's not blind optimism or toxic positivity to recognize reality. And the reality is, all of life is not Facebook and Twitter and podcasts and the guys that are out there, that say ridiculous things. There's a lot of good, and you have to keep reminding yourself of that.
So Danny says, I let most things bother me and I have an incredibly hard time not bitching about it for a whole day before it subsides. So my friend and I have this policy, right? We've known each other for 20 years. So we're very close. We know a lot about each other. And we're both we're bitchy people. Not like bitchy, but like we like to complain. And we have this policy that when something happens, the person is allowed one day to just complain. We don't try to like offer solutions, and we don't like criticize them if they're like dwelling on a topic, as long as it's within the same like 24 hours. After that first 24 hours, we start looking for solutions. We're like, are you focusing on this a little bit too much? But we always like give give that like 24-hour period of grace where it's like, okay, you're allowed to just complain, and we're not going to try and find solutions, because sometimes you need that. Sometimes you just need to talk about how shit something is.
Hmm. I agree with that. I mean, venting is good if it doesn't become a constant. You know,
Yeah.
Brett and I used to deal with this very problem a lot because we'd want to be positive, but we were in a negative environment, and it was just like, what do you do? It was a balance because if you don't talk about this, then it's just going to build up and really, really hurt you. But at the same time, we don't want to just sit around bitching about stuff all the time. But I'll tell you what, I do know this. If any of the people that ever criticize me ever come and try to hurt me, I do have this 70-pound love bug here to protect me. Right, honey? Yeah.
I just stood on my dog. I didn't realize she was under my desk, and I put my foot down and I was like, what is this? And then I realized it was my dog. But she's tiny, so where did she go? Okay, now she's laying behind me. So I think a lot of people do think that it
Go ahead. We're listening.
Sorry, I'm paying attention to the dog. I do think a lot of people think that any kind of negativity ever is bad,
Well, they're
right?
stupid.
I mean, yeah, but you know that and I know that. But
Well, who else
maybe
do I
there's
care if they know it? I mean,
just gonna turn that into a clip. Everyday ethics. It's just that. Um
stop. Go. Get out.
she doesn't want to stop. She wants to be part of the show. Um Yeah, I mean, you know it and I know it, but there's a lot of people who don't. And there's a lot of people who have been taught that like negativity is bad and anger is bad and negative emotions are bad and you should tamp them down and you shouldn't give them any any space, and you shouldn't pay attention to them at all. And that's like that's just as dangerous as dwelling constantly in the negativity. That's all.
I'm with you. There's a balance. You want to recognize the reality of things, but in my personal experience as an American, now you're not an American, but in America, things are usually better than not, right? Things are usually pretty good. Look, I'm meeting my friend today, 4 o'clock. We're going to have our weekly coffee. That's something I really enjoy doing. And you just have to keep I hate to keep repeating it, but it's important. Yes, you want to acknowledge your emotions. Yes, you want to pay attention and see what's negative. You don't want to make believe. But I really think that with most of the people who would be listening to this, their lives are have more positive in them than negative, and it helps to keep that in mind.
I mean, I'm a big fan of gratitude journaling. Just saying, just putting it out there.
Are you now?
I am. I think it's useful. I think it's fun. But I'm also a big fan of like doing really dumb shit to distract myself when things are really bad. I make things. I like make art and stuff when I'm feeling particularly like the world is tiring, you know? I go and I make things. That's what I do. And then I deal with my things. That was my topic for today. Does anybody have any questions? Actually, you know what? I had a question from someone in my own life, and I thought it was very interesting. I didn't think it was interesting. I thought it was extremely fucking annoying. So, one of my friends said to me that they think that that what did they say? Morality is universal. So they don't like the idea, what did they say? They don't like the idea that something can be moral because it's in your self interest, because morality and self interest should be divorced from each other.
That's just arbitrary. On what basis should they be divorced from each other?
Because their point was that there are universal morals, and we
Okay,
had a
stop right there. Stop right there. Okay. Prove it. Don't just accept it, right? Because what happens in situations like that sometimes is somebody will start with a conclusion and make it their premise and then reason backwards. They'll say, because there's universal morals, self interest can't be a thing, rather than understanding that universal principles of morality are derived the other way around, right? You don't get there until you identify what values are, why do we need them, and once you have a science of values, that is what ethics, morality is. So you're allowing somebody to start at the end and say this means this. It reminds me of the guys who say absolute morality is what proves God. Really? Prove absolute morality, right? Because that's the key. Because once you start to have to prove it, you'll see, first of all, there's not ultimately a contradiction once properly understood. So that's what I would recommend.
well, I mean, we did end up having like quite a long
Is this a
conversation.
woman?
Yes,
Is
we
she
did
hot?
end up. Yes, all of my friends are hot. Just accept that. Um, so we did end up having quite a long and I would say unfruitful discussion. Um, because
Have these hot friends expressed an interest in hanging out with me? All of them at once.
no,
Well, then I don't know how smart we can think these women are. So then,
well,
no,
I
no,
mean, not really.
but seriously, like, I hate that I just said that. I hate when people say it's like, I don't like that. So it's about evidence. What evidence do you have? What is your reasoning process? On what basis do you stamp your foot and demand that morality and self-interest be separate from each other?
They, I don't think that they had a basis. They were like, well, it must be, and I was like, but it isn't. So what ended up happening was that we were talking about it, and I was just like, but how and but why? But why do you say that? And then just kept on. Like I didn't want to argue, but I was just sort of asking questions and going, but how? And then when they did say something that was like completely factually wrong, I was like, actually, no, and here's why. And it wasn't a productive discussion. It was just I was just interesting
So,
because that's a person that exists that thinks that morals are
well,
universal.
a lot of people have. Well, the moral principles are,
Yes, but that
but
wasn't. Yeah, that wasn't. That's what I ended up saying. Like there are certain principles that are universal.
yeah.
Yes,
It's
I was
did you
using.
the
I
Socrates,
was using the Socratic.
the Socrates. Um, you know, I just saw something. What made me think of it? I'm going to tie it into the discussion. You ever hear the saying, "When people show you who they are, believe them"?
Yes.
Well, this is key. I think it's very important. And, you know, when it comes to like, I think it was in Nathaniel Brandon's book, How to Raise Your Self Esteem, that it's so easy to tell who people are if you'll just pay attention. And I think that's largely correct, right? And I'm the reason I thought about this is because I'm looking at a Facebook post now from somebody who is upset that Trump has done what he's done with this thing. This person basically mocked me when I said the Iranian people are not going to be free from this. He mocked me for that. Now he's basically, complaining about how the Iranian people aren't free from this. But anybody who knew Donald Trump or was watched Donald Trump should know what he's going to do. And if you're just not willing to recognize it because you just want something bad enough, okay. And that I think is key in a lot of areas of life. It's to recognize things for what they are. It's okay to hope, but when you turn your hopes and think that that makes them facts, not good.
Yeah.
And
And we're
I just
yeah.
wonder, I honestly, Persephone, like when I'm wrong, I admit it. I think you've seen that, in the after shows, when whatever, or even on air. If I'm wrong, I admit it. I'm wrong sometimes. I acknowledge it. I'm not seeing from any of the cheerleaders who were very excited and very optimistic about this war, who critiqued my intelligence and my character. Now that they're all heartbroken, I'm not seeing an abundance of people coming out and saying, "You know what, I was wrong."
No, personally me, I'm seeing a lot of backtracking and a lot of, oh, but I never really thought that. Oh no, but
Right.
no, I actually held this completely
Yeah.
opposite viewpoint.
Right. But I do want to. What I want to do is I don't want to make it. I mean, it's on my mind because it's personal, but I want to use it for a broader lesson. Is that pay attention to reality and recognize it for what it is. Pay attention to your check engine light. Ignoring it won't make it go away. I know people. My father was one of them. I'm not going to the doctor because I don't, I don't want to know what they're going to find. As if the fact that you don't want to recognize it is going to make it go away. It doesn't. And just because you desire something doesn't make it so. So first of all, be honest with yourself, about other people, and about the things in this world. And when you err, and you will, because we all do, just acknowledge it. Don't play games with your mind. It's a
Mm.
game you cannot win.
I heard a number of objectivists today saying that Trump is the best and worst president in relation to
Yeah,
Iran.
I thought objectivists didn't like contradictions.
We're back to me being tired.
Right. Ultimately, somebody said to me the other day, and they were right, ultimately, but it was about the post that I made was about my disappointment in coming out of prison. And somebody said, people in all ideologies do this. It doesn't matter. It's not unique to objectivists or libertarians. And I said, granted, but when I was in prison, I thought that objectivists and the libertarians would be different. Was I naive? Yeah, sure. I didn't have a lot to go on, but I thought it would be different. And, you know,
Yeah, but I mean, I also think it's perfectly valid to expect better from people who should be better. Just by virtue of their own philosophy, they should be better.
yeah, I agree.
What a thrilling episode of Everyday Ethics this has been. Does anybody
I,
have any ethical
yeah,
questions?
let's get some questions or let's get some money.
I mean, like Lee said, should she ask a question? I don't know if Lee's here, and it was a really dumb question, but I'm gonna ask it anyway.
Lee asked a dumb question, and you're going to ask
Well,
me?
no, it wasn't that was mean. She said, "Can I ask Mike for his opinion on if it's ethical for me to start throwing my housemates' food in the trash if they keep putting it on my shelf in the fridge?"
Really?
Yeah. Well, she didn't actually ask the question. It was just a
I
message
just
that she sent.
communicate, I would say, first before you start throwing things in the trash. And if the people you're communicating don't respect your communication, then maybe find other housemates. I would say would be the better route than throwing their stuff away. What's your thoughts, Lady Persephone?
I mean, yeah, communication, but also I understand that sometimes you're going to communicate, they're not going to listen to you. Sometimes you're not in a situation where you can find better housemates, in which case,
Well, what are you trying to do? I mean, what is that going to accomplish, right? You're going to throw things out. Like, what? I'd like to find solutions, right? So you're doing this not because you really the stuff is in your way and you need space. You want to throw it out because you're pissed.
yeah.
And what are you going to accomplish? What are you seeking to accomplish? That's the question. Like, what do you want to accomplish? Because that is not going to create peace and harmony in the household where your roommates stop doing it,
No.
right?
I
So
mean,
that's the question.
my advice in that situation is if you have roommates who keep putting shit on your shelf in the fridge and you don't want to create a hostile environment in your home, just keep moving it off your shelf. Don't throw it away. Just move it.
You could do that
Sucks,
too.
but I mean, your options there are create a hostile environment and probably achieve nothing, or do nothing and achieve nothing. At the end of the day, if your options are create negative consequences and achieve nothing, or achieve nothing with no negative consequences, rather achieve nothing with no negative consequences.
Robert
Anyway,
Nasser says that's the kind of question which there is no good answer for. And sometimes that's the case in life. He says, yes, you can give them an ultimatum and then, yes, follow through on it. But ugh, either way, yes, Robert, I agree. Sometimes there's just not a good solution to the problem.
yeah.
All right. I guess we'll wrap up for today. I thank everybody here for joining us on Everyday Ethics. We'll be back again tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. But also in roughly 16
15
minutes
minutes.
from now, 15, Persephone says, I think it's 16, we will be doing crime corrections and culture, where we're going to be discussing criminal justice from the perspective of the book written by Brent McCall and myself, Down the Rabbit Hole, How the Culture of Corrections Encourages Crime. I hope you all will join us. If not, we will see you tomorrow. Until then, be ethical.